Hey everyone, you know those big goals we all have, the ones we're always striving for. Well, today we're diving into a podcast episode that really digs into that whole process of reaching your destination.
And it's not just about getting there, you know?
Right, like it's not just about checking off a box.
Exactly. This episode is more about navigating the whole journey and all those unexpected twists and turns along the way.
I love that. It's like those detours you weren't expecting can actually turn into some of the most rewarding experiences.
Oh, absolutely. Remember that quote from the episode, something like, "Sometimes the most scenic roads are the detours you didn't plan on taking."
Oh, yeah. That was a good one. And you know what? There's actually a lot of research that backs that up.
Oh, totally. Studies show that people who are more open to new experiences and can adapt to change, they're the ones who report higher levels of satisfaction and fulfillment in life.
It really makes you think twice about getting frustrated when things don't go exactly as planned, huh?
For sure. And speaking of planning, this episode really hit on the importance of setting clear goals. Yeah, they use that analogy of a vision board, which I thought was great.
Yeah, visualizing what you want to achieve can be really powerful.
Totally. But I think it's important to go a step further.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, it's one thing to visualize, but then you got to break those big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise, it can feel completely overwhelming.
It's like I've been wanting to write a novel for ages.
Oh, wow.
But it just felt so daunting, you know?
I totally get it.
But then I started using this time management method called the Pomodoro technique.
I've heard of that.
It's where you work in these focused bursts, and it's been a game changer for me.
That's awesome. That's a perfect example of taking action because it's so easy to get stuck in the planning stage and never actually make any progress.
So real. But even with the best planning and goal setting, you know, there are always going to be setbacks.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Why?
Life happens.
Exactly. So how did the episode address those inevitable bumps in the road?
Well, they talked a lot about the importance of celebrating even the small wins.
Oh, I love that.
It's so key to stay motivated. But they also dug into the idea of resilience.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, they had this great quote from Nakila who said, "Every setback is a setup for a comeback."
Wow, that's a powerful way to look at it.
It really is. It's all about shifting your perspective and seeing those challenges as opportunities for growth rather than failures.
You know, that really resonates with me. I remember this one time I was working on this huge project, and it just kept hitting roadblock after roadblock.
What had happened?
Oh, man, I was ready to give up.
I bet.
But then I had this mentor who reminded me that setbacks are just part of the process.
Oh, that's so important to remember.
Yeah, they're not a sign of failure, but a chance to learn and adapt.
Totally. And that's where having a strong support system can be so crucial.
Oh my gosh, yes. It makes such a difference.
It's so much easier to navigate those challenges when you have people in your corner who believe in you and can offer guidance based on their own experiences.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Speaking of mentors, I remember when I first started. It's amazing how having someone who's been there can really make a difference.
Right. They've got that experience to share.
Yeah.
And can help you see things from a different angle.
Totally. But even with all the planning and support in the world, sometimes life just throws you a curveball.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you have to adapt, you know?
Definitely. And the podcast host talked a lot about that.
They did. They spent a good chunk of time on this whole idea of adaptability.
And it's not just about, being flexible when things go wrong.
Right. It's more than that.
It's also about stepping back and looking at your goals.
Oh, making sure they still make sense.
Exactly. Because what we want and what's important to us, that can change over time.
Oh, totally. It's easy to get caught up in chasing a goal we set ages ago and not realize it's not even what we want anymore.
It happens. I mean, think about how much the world changes.
Yeah.
Just in the last few years with technology and global events and the economy.
Oh, that stuff.
It all affects us and what we care about.
So being adaptable means being open to changing our goals, too.
Exactly. We've got to reevaluate things based on what's happening around us.
It's like we need to build in these checkpoints along the way.
Checkpoints. I like that.
Yeah, like little pauses to ask ourselves, is this still where I want to be going?
Oh, I see what you mean. And if it's not, then we need to be willing to change direction.
Exactly. And it's not just about those big life decisions either.
Right.
This applies to smaller goals, too. Like, let's say you're learning a new skill.
Okay, yeah.
But then you discover something else that you find way more interesting.
Being adaptable means having the courage to go after that new thing.
You know what's really cool about all of this?
What's that?
It's like our focus shifts from just reaching the destination
to enjoying the journey itself.
Exactly. It's about realizing that learning and growing and adapting.
That's just as important as achieving the goal.
Yeah. And that's where we find the real joy and fulfillment.
It's about celebrating the little wins and learning from the setbacks.
And all those unexpected discoveries we make along the way.
Oh, for sure.
It reminds me of this time I was planning this big road trip across the country a few years back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I had everything planned out.
Really?
Every stop, like all the restaurants booked.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, then this huge storm hit,
Oh, no.
and I had to change my whole route.
So what happened?
I ended up in this little town I'd never even heard of.
Oh, wow.
It was so charming, though. The people were amazing,
That's awesome.
and there was this incredible bakery.
Sounds like a happy accident.
It really was. It ended up being the best part of the whole trip.
See? Sometimes those unplanned detours are the best ones.
Totally. And I think that's what they were getting at in the podcast.
About how important the journey is.
Yeah. It's not just about reaching the final destination.
Right, it's about enjoying the whole experience.
Exactly. With all the ups and downs and surprises.
Because those detours might lead to something even better.
Than what we originally planned.
Yeah.
So I think the big takeaway here is
To shift our mindset
from just focusing on the destination.
to appreciating the journey itself
It's about finding joy in the process.
and learning from those setbacks.
And being open to new possibilities.
Because our paths can change in ways we never expected.
So as you're working towards your goals,
Don't forget to enjoy the ride.
celebrate those small wins.
And don't be afraid to change course if you need to.
That's the beauty of it all.
There's always something new to discover.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
We hope you found it insightful.
And maybe even got you thinking a bit.
Remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.
So enjoy the ride, stay curious, and keep exploring.
Happy travels, everyone.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.